After making a fuss at Hassan's home, Ha Yume and Hale gave his family an ultimatum: they had to come up with the money or sell the house in 1 month. Otherwise they would file a lawsuit. I'm so useless that I can't even keep the house. Luo Sulng held Ha Yan, her face covered with tears. Luo Sulng was a gentle lady. When Hassan's father was still alive, she was treated like a princess. She didn't even know how to sweep the floor, let alone do other chores. Hassan knew how difficult it was for her to raise his sister and him after his father passed away. Don't worry, Mom. I am here even though Dad isn't. I will not let them take away our house. You take a rest and I'll consult Uncle Zhang on the matter. Hassan called a friend of his father's, Mr. Zhang. He was the lawyer who used to work in their family business as legal counsel. Hi, Uncle Zhang. This is Sane. Is your back any better? I have a legal matter that I want to ask you about. So, Hassan looked a little pale when he hung up. He had confirmed that his relative told the truth: they do have rights to a part of the house. And if they really did go to court, the verdict would be close to what they've asked for, to either pay them money or sell the house. Sane, what did Mr. Zhang say? Luo Sulng asked Hassan, looking at him nervously. Don't you worry, Mom. I have checked with Uncle Zhang and there is a solution. You just make sure Yan is okay. And I'll take care of this. The house will not be taken away by anyone, Hassan said with a smile. That's good, that's great. Luo Sulng breathed a sigh of relief. Having rested at home for a night, Hassan took a train to the teleport station and entered God's sanctuary in the morning. Hassan was teleported to his room at the steel armor shelter. When one was teleported into God's sanctuary, one would appear in a certain room only accessible to him or her. Unless permitted by the owner, others were not able to enter the room. Before finishing the first evolution and entering second God's sanctuary, this was Hassan's home in God's sanctuary. Now Hassan had no power or influence. The only solution was to come up with $2 million in a month if he wanted to keep the house. Although he felt it was unfair, without power, there was nothing left to do. $2 million Levo was an enormous amount for a young man who just finished integrated compulsory education. In the past, Hassan couldn't have earned $2 million in a year, let alone in a month. But now everything was different. In fact, if he had not already cooked the shell of the sacred blood black beetle, the shell alone would be worth 1 or 2 million. Even without the shell, he still had the black crystal that could make creatures evolve. As long as he had that, 2 million was nothing. Looking at the body of the primitive green-scaled beast on the ground, Hassan hesitated for a moment before cutting the body into pieces. He then dried the meat, made it into beef jerky and carried it with him in his waist pack. He must first catch a creature before he could use the crystal to make it evolve and trade the flesh of the evolved creature for money. Now that Hassan owned a suit of sacred blood beast soul armor, he could up his game and start to hunt primitive creatures instead of ordinary creatures. Primitive creatures weren't worth much, and he would waste a day's time waiting for an ordinary creature to evolve into a primitive one. To come up with 2 million, Hassan would need to sell at least a mutant creature. Primitive creatures were usually seen a dozen kilometers from steel armor shelter. Hassan had not dared to go that far before, but now he had his armor. This time, his goal was no longer a copper-toothed beast, the weakest among all primitive creatures, but the swift mantis often spotted in Zephyr Valley. Although a primitive creature, a swift mantis had a fragile body and could easily be killed by a normal alloy dagger if stabbed in a vulnerable spot. However, A swift mantis was so fast that ordinary people couldn't keep up with it. And its pair of hacksaw-like forelegs could easily split human bones. Once hit by the forelegs, a person would be crippled, if not killed. So few humans would go to hunt this creature. For Hussein, however, the swift mantis was the best option. It was in the end only a primitive creature, and there was no way it could cut open his sacred blood beast soul armor. If he couldn't be hurt by the mantis, surely he could kill it. The most important thing was that with claws and wings cut off, a swift mantis could no longer fight back but could still live. This way, Hussein could easily take it back, keep it in his room, and use the black crystal to make it evolve into a mutant creature before he sold its flesh. Of course, if he were able to kill a few swift mantises and got lucky, he might even gain a beast soul. The beast soul of a swift mantis was in the shape of a swift jagged blade, which was a long dagger, a type of weapon Hussein had mastered. Although the swift jagged blade was only a primitive beast soul weapon, it was the sharpest of all primitive weapons, and could even compare to some mutant beast soul weapons. Because of the danger of hunting swift mantises, few would go to Zephyr Valley, and even fewer had obtained a swift jagged blade. If the rare weapon were to be sold, it would cost more than 2 million. So, if Hussein could score a beast soul of a swift mantis, there would be no need to sell mutant creature flesh anymore. The closer Hussein got to Zephyr Valley, the fewer people he could see. Around the valley, there was no human activity at all. Hussein did not dare to go too deep. So he found a hidden place and summoned the sacred blood black beetle beast soul to cover himself in the golden armor. Taking a deep breath, he sneaked towards Zephyr Valley. Hussein did not dare to go too fast. The valley was covered with trees and wild grass as tall as a man. As the trees and grass swung with the wind, it was difficult to spot any swift mantis that might be hiding there. Even momentary carelessness could lead to broken bones from a mantis attack.